Hi, welcome back. So in this video, we'll discuss about ERC standards, what ERC means and where does it came from, right? So ERC refers to the Ethereum request for comment. These are basically the technical standards that are driven by Ethereum improvement protocols. So what we'll do is we'll basically we'll discuss about the ERC20 standards in this video, but even before that, what we need to understand is that why do we need a technical standard at all, right? So, and an argument to this question is basically to standardize the ecosystem. Now, consider a use case where suppose you are constructing a new house, right? And you need to buy plugs in order to fit into your house. And what happens if you buy plugs for different manufacturer and all of them are following different standards? Now that would be a lot of work in order to just fit say a plug from a specific manufacturer into your house, right? And that creates a pain. So the idea behind creating this standard was basically to streamline things and make few things known. And a very interesting proposal that was provided back on 23rd June 2015 by Vitalik itself. So what he mentioned was that although Ethereum allows developers to create absolutely any kind of application without restriction to a specific feature and types and pride itself on its lack of features, there is nevertheless a need to standardize certain very common use cases, right? In order to allow users and applications to in order to applications to easily interact with each other. So this was the proposal that came from Vitalik, and then there were like a bunch of different methods that was written, even few method specifically for decentralized exchange as well, right? So we need a technical standard in order to create an ecosystem around where different decentralized applications can basically communicate to each other and be a part of that entire ecosystem itself. So after this, so let's start and discuss about the ERC20 token standard, which is the focus of our videos. Now, ERC20 token standard are basically fungible tokens. Now, the question comes in with why exactly we need this standard, right? And what exactly we can do with this token standards, right? The first thing is that these can be used for anything. It is basically a representation of some sort of an asset on the Ethereum blockchain. So I basically have a asset on the Ethereum blockchain, and that gets represented by ERC20 token. So there's a misconception that ERC20 token basically represents coins and tokens. However, they can represent absolutely anything. So they can represent, say, a fiat currency like dollar, or an ounce of gold, or it could even represent, say, a share of a company, or a coins in a reward game, or it can even represent a square meter in a house in a real estate, right? So it has a very wide use case, right? And this is what makes ERC20 standard so popular in Ethereum, right? However, as I mentioned, like why doesn't everyone create their own token standard? And the reason is because you want to build out a network which has many different companies, institutions, and individuals coming together and basically owning a similar type of token, or integrated or a system which is integrated to tokens, right? So we need a system where all of these needs to be standardized, and that's where the ERC20 token came into existence. Now we'll go back and we'll look into the ERC20 token and its origin and its original proposal on GitHub. But before that, I want to discuss it's basically its characteristics. So the first characteristic is that these are fungible tokens. Now what fungible token means is that these tokens adopt the properties of a currency and can be used in the same way as, say, we use a fiat currency like dollars, right? So as such, fungible tokens are not unique, meaning we can, or I can go ahead and exchange one token for another of the same kind. Like for example, Bitcoin. So I owning a Bitcoin, or if another one owning a Bitcoin, if we go ahead and we exchange both, I mean, there is no real difference in that, right? So there is no unique property in the Bitcoin that I own in comparison to anyone else who might be owning that. Moreover, there is, of course, no program differences in the same way that a dollar is, right? So one dollar bill, irrespective of who owns, it's basically the same. So fungible tokens are mainly used as a unit of money, fees, or payment of some kind. Now, another very important characteristics of ERC20 tokens are its fungibility and divisibility. Now, what does this mean is that, say, when something is fungible, it is also divisible. For example, say 1 Bitcoin can be divided into a fraction of as small as 1 by 8th of a BTC. In other words, like BTC was programmed to be divisible for up to 8 decimal places, with the smallest fraction is basically called as Satoshi, named after the pseudonym who gave the Bitcoin proposal, right? So therefore, while Bitcoin has soared in the value in the past years, so it came from $1,000 to up to $60,000, it can still be used for micropayment, and that is where its use case regarding the divisibility and fungibility comes into picture, right? So now what we'll do is we'll go back to the ERC20 token standards and we'll again have a look at the original proposal that came in. So this was the basically the standardized contract API that was updated by Vitalik, and then a proposal came in, and this is the original proposal, right? So you can see the EIP value as 20. Now what this 20 is, the 20 here is essentially nothing but the issue number 20. So on GitHub, if you go, this is the ERC token standard and this is the issue number 20. Similarly, any token standard that becomes, say, a standard within the community is basically referred to by its issue number, right? So this is EIP 20 and that's why ERC 20. The title is token standard and these are the authors. So authors are Fabian Vogelster and Vitalik Buterin, right? And then you will go, so this was basically created on 19th November 2015, and the original idea of basically creating a standard, it came on 23rd June 2015, right? So now if you go here, so we have all the abstract and the the specifications, the name, things like all the basic functions that we have, decimals, total supply, balance of, which basically returns the account balance of another account with the address of whatever the owner's address is, and these all bunch of methods, right? So this is basically what became the standard, and since 2015 this standard has been the norm and pretty much accepted by the community across. And if you see, since this is open source, if you go back to the original issue as well, so this issue, once it got closed, the PI was merged, so there are a bunch of suggestions as well coming in, right? So how do we handle suggestions? And similarly, what if there are certain improvements as well? So that also becomes a standard, and we'll discuss more about that in our next video. So this is all about the ERC20 token standard. There's one more thing that I want to basically discuss is basically the value of a token. So how does the value of a token is decided upon? Now, the value of a token is essentially driven by the importance that a token has within that ecosystem, right? So suppose if we can go ahead and we can create our own token, but if it does not have a usability, if the community has not accepted it, it would largely remain worthless, right? So for example, we have different token standards which represents different type of fiat currencies. For example, USDTC. So that represents one USDTC represents something equivalent to $1, right? So similarly, there are different bunch of tokens. I think there are more than 9,000 tokens that will be there on the Ethereum blockchain itself. However, very few of them have the actual value, underlying value, and is backed by the community. Now, another very important token standard that we have that we'll discuss in our next video will be the NFT based, which is the non-fungible token, and in that we'll be covering the ERC721 and its advanced version and a much better improved version, which is the ERC115. Thank you.